right back.
So how was that, Aaron?
That part was magnificent. That part was perfect. Yes.
Cool.
So I'll dig into it in about 40 seconds.
All right. And then I want to read something too.
Welcome back, listener. My name is Aaron Richmond. You're listening to Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we're talking about issues in the blindness community. Our podcast is, of course, as I say, available almost everywhere, including Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon. Let's get back into it now with Chris Benedict. You have something you want to read, right?
Yeah.
Well, go for it.
This comes out in the Bible. This is John 9, verses 1 through, I think, 7. So as he went on, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who means, Rabbi means teacher. Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answers, neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it, As long as it is day, we must do the works. We must do the works. Who sent me night and coming when no one can work. After this, after saying this, Jesus spit on the ground and made some mud with his saliva and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam, which makes sense. So the man went and washed, and he came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, isn't this the same man who sat and begged? Some claimed that he was. Others said no. It only looked like him, but himself insisted, I am the man. How then were your eyes opened? They asked. He replied, the man that they call that they called Jesus in some mud and put it on my eyes and told me to go to Siloam and wash. So when I went and washed, and then I could see. Whether it is the man they asked, where is the man they asked? I don't know, he said. The Pharisees. Anyway, yeah, there we go.
So basically, I understood the verses. I understood the idea.
Yeah.
What does that? And I would ask you, why? What do you take away from those verses? How are
No,
those verses meaningful to you?
yes, I'm glad you asked that because for me that gives me hope because um and I'm not blind, but I do have a physical disability. So, I'm able to proclaim Christ and do an outward showing of His love that is brought in through that. Since He's living within me, I can show an outward display of 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 His love. And what He promises us is that if we believe in Him, when we die, we don't die with changed form. And and He promises us perfect bodies that will not decay, that we can see, walk, jump, everything that we were made to do, but because God made us perfect. But it's because of sin that we are not able to do all these things. And it's only because of Christ that we are able Christ want that pay our debt for us that we cannot pay. And because of that love that we're able to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Right. Definitely. So it is a very beautiful and a very interesting point here that we're going over.
Standard window.
Oftentimes, I'm really glad you read this. I'm really glad you're talking about this because this gets into philosophy, this gets into society, religion. I mean, we have it covered in this one. Oftentimes, we in the blindness community, there is a lot of questions these days about. Well, let me give you an example of one. There's been a lot of talk about research in regards to the invention of some sort of a electronic or computer or Apple or bionic eye of sorts that supposedly, when installed in the future, it will help blind people to be able to see. And I'm going to give you my opinion, and then I want to hear your opinion about this. It was phrased on, now I don't name drop, but on another podcast, I heard about this. And a question was posed to the audience. I'll pose a similar question. If you're blind in the audience, would you have this surgery to have this new bionic or some sort of an eye? Now, Chris, you're an outstanding guest to Aaron's opinion. If you were to ask me that question, if you were to ask Aaron, do you want to have a surgery where you can get a bionic or some sort of a new type of eye where you would be able to see? Can you infer? Can you predict what my answer will be? Try.
You know what? Just coming from my point of view,
Right.
I would say no.
Excellent.
Because, I do more in the chair than I can do out of the chair. And I feel that is, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel that is how you feel, that is how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That is precisely how I feel. I would not get the surgery because as a great writer and a great philosopher and truly a great person in American history who is oftentimes overlooked, someone by the name of Samuel Clemens. Or maybe you know him at home as Mark Twain. But as Samuel Clemens once said, there are only 2 days in your life that are important. So remember these 2 days: the day you were born and the day you found out why. So I do have a spiritual belief to some degree about this, that I believe that I was born blind for a reason. It's up to me to figure it out. It's up to me to know why. And if I disrupt that, if I disrupt the why, who knows what I might disrupt? That could really mess up the timeline. That could really disrupt other things. I don't know. God only knows.
Yeah, and I mean, we were supposed to be made perfect, but because of sin, that,
The other interesting thing I can add to it is one of my students asked me, how do we get into the conversation? How do we get into it? They asked a question about my opinion about the future of genetics and if parents in the future will be able to pick the genes of their child,
yeah.
They asked me what I thought about it, and I had some concerns. The biggest concern of all was I said, basically I took this. Now of course we're going from spirituality to science. I hope you don't mind. May I talk about science a little bit?
Sure. And
Okay.
you know what?
Yeah.
I think there's science and faith are connected.
I do, you know what? I do too, but it's always good to ask people because some people are a little bit more. Yeah, and I'm really glad you said that. And here's why. I said the student wanted to know in this question. They said, what would happen if we found a way to eradicate the world of disability? What if we found a way to make it impossible for children to be born with blindness, deaf, cerebral palsy, all these disabilities? The student asked me, Aaron, what do you think would happen then? I said, I know what will happen if we ever invent that, if we ever figure that out. I said, that day will be the demise of mankind. Here's why. Here's why. If people had never evolved, right? If species hadn't made changes or disabilities, changes, things that are slightly wrong with them, they wouldn't have survived.